All right, so we're going to work on surface area of cylinders. Now we're going to look to find lateral and total surface area. We're using the formulas from the formula chart. For lateral surface area, it is S equals 2 pi r h. Remember that r represents radius and h represents the height of the cylinder. So the first thing I would do before trying to find any of this is identify our pieces. So the first thing I'm going to find is the radius. Looking here, it gives us the whole measurement from all the way across the circle, which is called the diameter. We only want the radius, and that is half of the measurement. So we want the halfway length. So in order to get the halfway length, again, we need to take the diameter and divide it by 2. So to find the radius, it is the diameter divided by 2. Oh, that looks like a plus sign. Sorry. Divided by 2, which is 16 divided by 2, which gives us 8. That is our radius. R equals 8. Now we need to identify the height. The height is how tall it is from circle to circle. And on this example, it is 21. So h is equal to 21. Now, please remember that for this video and for our examples, we are not using pi as the button. We are using pi as 3.14. So just notate that pi is going to be 3.14. Now that we have identified all of our pieces, we can go ahead and start plugging in or substituting our values in to solve. So S equals 2 pi, we're going to replace with 3.14 times radius, which we discovered is 8, times the height, which is 21. Remember, you need to make sure you're using your radius, not your diameter, and do not flip your radius and your height measurements. So you could do this going from left to right. So 2 times 3.14 times 8 times 21. When I do this using a calculator, I get 1055.04. Now, this is basically your answer, but we want to make sure that we are rounding properly. So the surface area, the lateral surface area here, would be 1055. Now, we're being asked to round based off of the tenths place. That is the first number after the decimal. So we look there and we look right behind it. If that number behind it is below 5, we are going to keep it the same. If it is above, we're going to round it up. Since this is a 4, we're going to keep that 0 the same. So our answer would be 1055 or 1055.0. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to finding the total surface area, which is all parts of it, including those circles. That's why we have the same formula. It's S equals 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared. We're adding this extra piece on here, so that's the change that's happening here. Now, we've already identified our pieces down in my little box, so I'm just going to go ahead and start substituting in the values. So S equals 2 times 3.14 times our radius is 8 times the height, which is 21, plus 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 8. And remember, you have to square that radius for this one. So for this piece, you're going to have to follow PEMDAS. You're going to need to do the square first. And when we square 8, it becomes 64. So let me rewrite this out really quickly. All right, now that I've written it out, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply within the sections first. So this first section we're going to multiply, and this next section we're going to multiply, because our next step in PEMDAS after exponent is to multiply or divide. So we're going to multiply, and then after we've multiplied them together, we're going to add. So I'm going to multiply this first part first. So 2 times 3.14 times 8 times 21. I find that that is 1055.04. Put your plus sign down. Now I multiply the other side of the plus sign together. So 2 times 3.14 times 64, and I get 401.94. 2. Our last step is to add them together to get our final total value for our surface area. So when I add that together, I get 1,456.96. Remember to include your decimals. The only time you're rounding is at the end with your answer. Now, we again are going to round, so we're going to look at that 10th spot and look at what's behind it, okay? So this number behind it is greater than 5. So we're going to round the 9 up, which in turn would round this up. So technically, if we're rounding to that spot, it would be, the surface area would be 1,457. Make sure you're rounding. If you're not 100% sure, put it back in. We go through and double check. Just double check your work. Make sure you're using 3.14 for pi. Do not confuse your radius and your diameter. Don't use the diameter in your formulas because that's not what it's asking for. Any calculator can do these, so you don't need our specific calculator. Hope this helps.